Yeah. Man, I mean, solar eclipses are the most mind-bending thing to see, but lunar eclipses are just so fun and they're so convenient, and you just go out and you just look up and you get to see it, and you don't have to go anywhere and you don't have to get complicated. You just watch it, and I really love lunar eclipses.
Yeah, they're a little more stately to watch. I would put a good aurora display, a really bright, we've got the curtains and the reds and the yellows and the streamers and stuff up there is one of the most amazing things I've seen. Like from northern Maine and Alaska, you see some really amazing aurora up there.
All right, so let's see. So we should be able to see it in like about a minute now.
I also caught the 1998 Leonids from Kuwait. It was actually a Leonid storm at that time, and I've never seen a meteor shower quite that intense.
I remember that one. Amazing. I remember the Leonids. I've never seen a meteor shower. I was in the middle of Vancouver when that one happened, and it was just a mind-bending.
We happened to be I was in the Air Force. It was a forward operating base in Kuwait where it was all lights out there, so you could just go out behind our tents. And it wasn't one of those meteor showers where you watch for like 10 minutes and you're like, oh, I think I see one or two. Almost every second, they were like meteor, like, and they were like fireballs. You'd see the flash, like a photo flash, and you knew there was one like behind you lighting up the desert floor. And those meteor showers, you don't realize how intense a really good meteor storm like that could be. But that was one of the most impressive things I've seen.
1 minute.
Now, looking at that there, I'd almost say it's started.
Yeah.
Like the partial bit. It's really hard to. You can see how ragged that inner umbra really is. But of course, with the camera, you get a little bit of exposure dimming versus like what you'd get for a true view.
Can you move the white square back out again, Corey, just so we can see? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was one a few years ago. This is about as deep as it got for partial eclipse from the East Coast here. It just nicked the umbra.
Yeah, you just get that little nick and then it goes away again, which is the worst.
Well, penumbral only is the absolute, like the anti-total solar eclipse opposite of the worst eclipse. The penumbral lunar eclipse is probably the biggest non-event.
So let's see I wonder what my when is going to do now. My when command, now that it's already happened.
We need a camera on the moon that's looking back at the Earth for us.
So now it says it's going to happen in 23 hours. So I guess I need to change my command because the first part has already happened now.
See, I have U1. Yeah, U1 was a minute ago. Looking at my old school.
So when does
old school paper chart?
When does at UTC? When does the I can recommend some. Don't worry about it. I'll be all right.
Totality?
Yeah, I'm going to say like full eclipse begins at 1930.
1930. Yeah, U2 contact is at 1930 for.
So I'll do that.
So we're about not quite another hour away from that. And then the total phase begins for the longest eclipse.
Where'd it go? There it is.
Longest eclipse for the remainder of our lifetime. I said the longest one for our lifetime was in 2000, just by a few minutes. And that one in 2000, incidentally, was part of the same, we say Saros cycle. A Saros cycle is 223 Sonaros is, but yeah, it's interesting that, and their knowledge was just local geographic. That's what always amazes me. I mean, they didn't have worldwide cameras or telescopes or anything like that.
Christopher Beck is asking, Corey, when do you adjust the exposure?
I'm watching the histogram, and I'm going to start adjusting the exposure probably in not too long. I'll tell everyone when I do. Right now I'm shooting at 125th a second ISO 100. And this is effectively shooting at f/15 with 105 millimeters of aperture. So,
yeah, I know during totality, you got to dial down really quick, like to a second or two.
Yeah, I'm going to be shooting, like probably 1 to 2 seconds, and ISO probably 16 or probably 3200. So
your tracking looks really solid too.
Yeah. That's a beast of a mount.
Nah, it's actually not that big. It's a good mount. You can even travel with it. Not like, we've taken it overseas, but it's not that big, to be honest. But it's a nice mount.
Murillo is saying you never get full eclipses in Brazil. You can see this as soon as the moon rises. You'll be able to see it, and the moon's going to rise for you pretty soon. So Brazil is going to be able to see this lunar eclipse, no problem.
And that's actually cool when they rise or set, because you get it on the horizon. If you can get some foreground objects like a castle or a church or something like that, I've seen people do some really amazing photographs. The trick is the moon is surprisingly a lot tinier than people think. You really have to have that statue or castle or mountaintop. It's got to be a few thousand feet away, if not half a mile or more, to really get a good moon castle in front of it. There was one in Spain that I chased around to try to get moonrise behind it several times.
So just to give everyone an update now, so the full eclipse, so the moon will be fully eclipsed in about an hour. And then we're going to be able to see the full, it's going to be at maximum. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to start to turn red, but it'll be at its maximum eclipse in about 2 hours.
We'll probably see some reddening on that lower limb once it gets into the shadow.
Yeah.
That same one that's dark now.
So I haven't decided yet how I'm going to do that, because one of the things you can do is you can keep, I'll use the mouse pointer, you can keep the exposure so that the light part of the moon stays nice and light, but then you don't see any of the red. Or you can overexpose it a little bit so that you can see the red before it's fully eclipsed. What I think I'm going to do is actually keep it until it's almost fully eclipsed, and then start really jacking the exposure up so we can start seeing that reddening somewhat gradually.
Yeah, just kind of slowly start going up in exposure. Sometimes it looks a little bluish too once in a while. I've seen it. That one that was really short a few years ago, that was 10 or 15, the upper bright limb can almost have like a bluish hue to it.
Yeah, right on the edge of the red shadow, there's like a red-blue, and then, it's very interesting. We should be able to see that tonight, so.
Yeah, so you're not going to see it turn red until after it's already fully been eclipsed. So we're still about an hour away from it starting to turn red. But just keep watching. It's all going to happen. I've predicted everything. Now it will unfold. Yeah, Amit Kumar says it's raining. You are missing it. I'm sorry. If the sky opens up for any time and we call them sucker holes, you can maybe spot the moon there for a second, but it's happening right now.
Thing. The good thing with an eclipse, solar or lunar, you don't need a clear sky. You just need a view of the sun or moon or whatever's being eclipsed. So you might still see it if you got just low running clouds that have gaps in them.
I'm going to zoom in a little bit. We see that bird.
I think you did see a bird or a bat, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Bat transit. I remember when I was in Arizona, you would tend to see a lot of bats, that would transit. I have a few videos of bat transits across the moon.
Lummy Tom is saying, should I try to get a photo of the moon through my telescope, or am I at a big risk of going blind? It's always safe to photograph the moon. It's never dangerous to photograph the moon. Do it.
Yeah, the moon is much fainter than the sun.
Yeah, it's always safe to go outside and look at the moon with your own eyes. And even safer during a total lunar eclipse, because the Earth's shadow is blocking it.
You can kind of see the curve to it a little bit now too. Yeah. And like I said, it's about 2.5 times as the shadow at that distance, the apparent size of the Earth or the moon.
People are noting sort of the direction that it's happening, because now some people are actually able to start seeing it outside. And remember, that where you are on planet Earth, if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're going to see the eclipse happen in one way. Corey, when you look at it right now, where is the eclipse starting to happen?
On the bottom.
On the bottom, okay.
Slightly.
Yeah.
Slightly. Bottom right, yeah.
So if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're seeing this. But if you're in the northern hemisphere, you're going to see the opposite. You're going to see it coming down from the top. And so it all just depends on where you are on Earth is what sort of what perspective you're going to be able to see. But please, again, if you live anywhere but North America, go outside and see if you can see it. And for the people who have the cloudy skies, I'm sorry. This is the best we can do for you.
It's actually a function of how you're oriented on Earth. And I remember going down south of the equator, and the weirdest thing is to see constellations I knew upside down, like Orion or Leo. You can see those from down there, but to see them from my perspective that were oriented upside down. So, and the moon kind of has a different orientation down there too. So.
And if you want to try something just to sort of see the difference now, go back just in the stream, go back early on, and then you can sort of scrub forward through the video stream and see it changing.
I'd say it's at probably 30% now. Last total eclipse of 2018.
I'm posting these images live on some of the images every few minutes on Twitter and Instagram stories.
That's good. I dare not.
Well, I'm not responding to anyone if they're commenting, so I apologize.
Oh, you said that Dylan wants it.
Yeah, that was a while ago. I don't know if he still does. I sent him the link.
Yeah, you said if you send him the link, he can just jump in.
Okay.
We were talking about telescope mounts a while ago. I can tell you just buying another mount that the mount is actually a bigger decision than buying the telescope itself.
Yeah.
That's cool. There, can you see the red just down at the very bottom there?
Yep. Sorry, I have to take another photo, so I have to choose. Okay, I'll show us again just for fun. I'm doing this for the internet.
Uh-oh, we lost Dave. Oh, wow. It really looks like a big shadow just going right across the moon. And you can see that red color. That is really neat.
I'm going to take that photo just for fun. Okay.
That's awesome. So, David, I don't know if you saw this. So Corey's changing the exposure so you can actually see the redness.
Yeah, and it really blows out that bright part, but it's starting to turn a little red. I think it's interesting versus like the Terminator during first quarter, last quarter. You can see a definite difference in the. Oh, cool. Yeah, in the edge there, the shadow edge versus like when you're at first quarter.
Now you wish you could go back and take those pictures from earlier in the eclipse, or have you already been taking other exposures?
No. I'm doing this for the internet more.
Oh, okay. This is just for you folks, so you can really see.
I'm doing both. But yeah. I'm gonna have to start adjusting the exposure again. It's starting to dim up quite a bit. Yeah.
The Perseids are just great for us in the northern hemisphere because it's warm and you can go outside and just hang out and watch a nice meteor shower. While the Geminids, I'm sure, are better for the southern hemisphere.